So again, day 2, GCCM London, global wholesale telco industry. Mouthful, but what's going on? What is digital transformation? What are we doing? What are we seeing? What are the challenges, the opportunities with which we see? And I'm very honored not to talk myself about this topic, but I have the senior experts here around the table for you to share their knowledge with you. And I will give them a quick minute to introduce themselves. And Arun, my fellow moderator, please.
Thanks, Eric. Nice to see you again. Good morning, everybody. My name is Arun Dihiri. I run a boutique strategy consultancy business called Red Dawn Consulting, or RDC. We specialize in all things TMT, anything digital, and we help digital innovators grow. That's our philosophy.
Thank you so much. Noor?
Thanks, Eric. Good morning, everyone. My name is Noor Helmi. I'm the CEO of IX Telecom. We are based in Southeast Asia, in Malaysia. We are an internet aggregator and also managed service providers. We bridge the gap between the global carriers and the local providers. That's what we do. So hope to connect with you guys today. Thank you.
Good, and thank you for coming all the way to London.
It's a long journey.
Very long journey. Thank you so much, and good to have you. Federico, good morning.
Yes, Federico is my name. Responsible for innovation and strategy at Deutsche Telekom Global Carrier. That's the international wholesale unit of Deutsche Telekom.
Thank you so much. And you can see he takes branding really serious, huh? Really serious. Fantastic.
It's part of the game, exactly.
There you go. And then Nigel, over to you.
Thanks, Eric. I'm Nigel Meacham, managing partner at Cambridge Management Consulting. Like Aaron, we're a boutique consultancy where we've all come from industry, majority of which are around telco, and I run the commercial and procurement practice.
Cool. And thank you, gentlemen, for being here. You see another name there, is Dilip. There's probably something with the traffic in London, but rarely happens. So that's why we miss him. Sponsored by IMC Bank of Telecom, and I think they have something to say. Let's listen and watch.
Trading voice and SMS routes typically means managing countless spreadsheets and carrier contact information, but nowadays it shouldn't be this complicated. Introducing Bank of Telecom, the ultimate all-in-one telecommunication wholesale marketplace for buying, selling and testing voice and SMS routes. Check 15 million plus valid voice and SMS rates from 2,705 operators across 2,062 markets. Test any route before buying or visit the global test area to find results of tests performed by other marketplace users. Moreover, check certified ratings for each route, making decisions easier. Monitor transactions, deposits, withdrawals, and manage invoices on a single dashboard, and track your routes effortlessly with voice and SMS traffic reports. Plus, use number checking tools for portability, fraud, and code tests free for members. With one membership, set specific roles for further streamlining sales, financial, and NOC processes. Explore the future in voice and SMS trading with the Bank of Telecom. Try it out now.
Okay, so that's a good morning, right? Huh? I would say so. All right, Arun. I mean, we talk about business for so many years, and what are the things in the let's say the wholesale landscape you see? I mean, you're a specialist with your consultancy on every aspect of the digitalization and the digital transformation. So, what characteristic can you share with the audience? Well, what do we see now? Where do we stand?
So I think, I guess the benefit that I, as you say, bring to the table is the holistic view of the market. And what I've noticed is that the larger we get, the more kind of, forgive me for saying, but sort of siloed we get in the infrastructure layer. And we talk about the platforms, we talk about the orchestration layer, we talk about the apps layer. I think what we're seeing in our advisory work is just the phenomenal rate of demand globally. So we're talking about things like IoT, We're talking about extended reality, which is driving massive sort of demand, needs to be very quick, low latency. So these are the sort of major demand drivers. And I think that the globalization, obviously COVID's a thing of the past, hopefully now, but it had a massive impact on the speed requirements and the global requirements. But I think the thing that we're kind of seeing more and more now is convergence. Okay, so I think one of the big topics is satellite, and I think the combination of satellite, fixed, cellular, Wi-Fi, and there's a hybrid of different technologies. So the key that I would say trend, or what we need to think about going forward, is the collaboration of all of these, which brings me right back to my first point, which is that we can't be thinking in silos anymore. Okay, so that's the kind of demand driver, and I think on the customer side, sticking to the customer side, I think one of the biggest issues we're facing now is security and customer data, and the more we get into wholesaling, the bigger the fraud gets. It's not getting any better, and the spamming and all the So that's kind of something we'll come back to.
Okay, thank you, Nigel. I mean, with Cambridge, you also have the holistic view, you also have the helicopter view. What do you see? What's going on in the world?
I think Aaron hit a really important topic when he talked about silos. And whilst we might talk about silos of products or infrastructure, one of the big challenges that we see is the silos of data. And if we just look at the way that there are so many different applications, environments, systems to manage telco data, that becomes a real problem. And as much as we get collaboration and companies trying to work together, they also see some of their own data as being very much their real estate, their value. And it's how open they are to sharing that. And it's really looking at how do you break that to make the whole industry become more efficient. And that's very much where I think that there are some drivers, there are some applications. You think about orchestration, and there are orchestration platforms that are coming out to solve that in data centers, and the same with procurement.
Okay. Federico, one of the biggest operators in the world, what do you see? What is your overview?
Oh, in one sentence, I see us as operators as too slow. But to give it a bit more...
That's what we always tell the operators, huh?
Yeah, but you will not find many that admit that. So to give you a couple of examples, I'll try to slice and dice it a bit. So we have, for example, the customer layer. On the customer side, customers are now used, to services like Amazon Web Services, where they log onto a portal, they select the services they want to have, they configure the services, they put an SLA on that, and so on. This is the customer experience I would like to see, from us as telcos. We are all stuck in our little footprints that are, globally speaking, still very regional, but the customer demand is still, and even now, since COVID, even more, a global demand. So what does it mean for me for us as an operator? We need to act as a connectivity aggregator. So I want a customer to have a one-stop shop. If a customer wants from me, from DT, connectivity in Germany in our footprint, okay. But if the customer needs connectivity in Malaysia or in other countries, they should be getting it from me as well. I don't want to send that customer to somewhere else. So that's more or less on the customer side. On the product side, we missed the train already when it came to CPaaS. There was a discussion about CPaaS. We missed the train. We left that to aggregators. Now we are. I need to be careful now. We're trying not to do the same mistake again when it comes to network APIs. And what still people treat very differently, they talk about network APIs, they talk about edge, they talk about CPaaS. But the beauty, and this is a USP that we have, no one else has that, to combine all that together. So we can give quality of service in the network for a certain video call, for metaverse experience or whatever. Nobody else can do that. Just the mobile operators when it comes to quality on-demand APIs and so on. And these are things that are not being talked about. We have launched a couple of APIs. Yeah, that's nothing special at MWC. There will be more things coming when network slicing is there. Still, the issue is, and here, Aaron, I don't see it that rosy. Yes, IoT, there is a demand for that, but the question is there also willingness to pay for that? If I give my customer low latency or very low latency abroad in a roaming experience, if I close an SLA with my fellow operator somewhere, which I need to do, because the automotive industry, they give SLAs to me, so I need to somehow comply with that. But it's difficult, because roaming, as you know, it's the best effort. So how do I fulfill that requirement? And how do I tell the customer it's not going to come for free? Because that's the expectation. I want everything low latency, I want everything fast and so on, but please give it for free to me. And on the infrastructure layer, this was the service layer. On the infrastructure layer, I see, yes, there is a certain convergence, not as it can be. So we are still treating fixed line networks, mobile networks, still too separately. There's not the software-defined experience that we might be looking at in 5 or probably 10 years from now. And the more we have a common experience on the infrastructure layer, the more important it is to differentiate via the platform layer or the service layer. So these are a couple of views, more differentiated, more structured from our perspective. Are we there? No, we are nowhere there yet. We have a long way to go, and we are too slow as operators. We have not a good history in collaborating, because that's required for this global connectivity experience. Am I talking too long now, guys? Is it getting boring? Tell me. But this is why I'm here at these conferences, for example. You cannot repeat that enough. And still, there are things like, there's the GLF, there's the GSMA, and so on. But these are, like monoliths. There are old gray people, and I'm also not the youngest, yeah. But still,
I am.
It's still too slow. The processes are massive there. We are over compliant. We are so compliant that the customer says, okay, you guys suck, I'll go to my OTT company. I get the same service, faster, better. I don't need you, actually.
But already, and then I come to Noor for his opening statement. But the thing for me is, so you acknowledge as an operator, right? Okay, we're too slow. We missed a couple of boats. We missed a couple of trains. What gives the audience the certainty that now you are actually sort of, let's say, in time, on time with your services and products?
I cannot promise we will be on time, whatever on time means. What I can say is, we're taking, for example, and it was mentioned by Aaron as well, security seriously. This is why we're turning things upside down. We have a privacy security assessment and all of that. Here, over compliance with security is probably a good thing. This is one of the reasons why there are certain companies that don't go the OTT way; they go the old-fashioned way. So we are improving, but with the legacy that we have on board, it's always a limbo between how much legacy to take on new platforms. What do you leave, on the old platforms? What do you put on the new cloud-based BSS, whatever? How do you link the old and the new world? We're trying to separate them, but it's really difficult. When it comes to as simple things as a customer number or something like that. When you transfer a customer number from one system to the other system, so it's as simple as that, and as difficult as that at the same time.
All right, Noor. Tell me, how do you see the current wholesale landscape? What do you see from your point of view, and especially maybe on Asia?
Yeah.
Give the audience also an impression of what's going on there.
Right. I mean, we have been talking about digital, right? Digital transformation, tech, right? And as a carrier, I mean, we are supposed to spearhead this digital transformation. But as you know, the way we work is a little bit more conventional. It's traditional. It's still traditional, right? Yeah. When we're talking about getting the pricing, right? We're still using email to talk to each other, right? We're not, even though we have our own platform, our own systems, but it's not integrating with each other, right? So there's no integration happening. So eventually, the carriers, the telco, are still working in a traditional way. And that's how we look at it. Even for us in Southeast Asia region, we have to work on hybrid, right? It's not everything that can be automated, right? I mean, we have to face the reality, right? Because different organizations, they have different policy, okay, and they have different regulation in certain markets, certain countries. So, in fact, right, we are on board, okay, to be part of this digital journey, but the reality is that, we have to do it in hybrid wherever we can.
Okay, cool. So, applying and implementing new strategies for this, and then I'll come to you, Aaron. And then that's a quick question to the round here, and also you. So, if you want to, please, let's do this interactively. Applying or implementing revised or new business models with the bureaucracy in there, especially for the operators. Is that something that we see? Is that something that's coming at us? And are we losing too much time with that again? Or, Aaron?
Yeah, so that's a perfect question, actually, because I had a thought on that one. If we consider the as-a-service concept, so X as a service is now a thing.
It's even Eric as a service. You can book me, and that's not a problem, huh?
How much do you cost for an hour? It's too much.
I will never tell my fellow consultant how much it is. You know?
Yeah. So
He's not that type of guy.
so with regards to that, if we just go with me on this for a second, if we consider, if a carrier, to your point, that how do you procure an end-to-end service from where, who do you go to, where do you start? That's a tricky thing, right? So for an enterprise, for example, they have to often break up their portfolio and buy them individually. But the more we can have everything as a service. Now, as a service, you need to be more end-to-end, right? So we need to think about the connectivity, the platform, the AI tools required for communications, and all of that. But I wanted to apply that to one point that you made, Federico, about the IoT. And you said, where's the money in that sort of thing? But I counter that with, so we're working with some big IoT players who are making huge revenues and valuations. Valuations are off the charts in IoT, M&A. We do a lot of M&A work as well. And just as a typical consultant, I've thought of a 2x2 here, which could be useful for us. So I'm going to put this in my slides. Adriana, are you listening? Yeah, Adriana is my amazing slide production guru. So imagine you've got, first of all, we can't think of the industry as a monolithic block. We've got to think, first of all, between the consumer and enterprise, and in the way they consume is completely different. So then we think about IoT, and we have to think about the low volume transactions and the larger volume streaming type services, and they behave completely differently. So the point then is, if we think of it that way, how can we monetize that? And one of the things that we've done successfully with our client, one of them is Wireless Logic, you may have heard of them, and they consume a lot, is we've broken down the agreements based upon that 2x2 in a sense. So that we've said, well, we want to buy from you, a monthly fee for the low value, so you're getting something for it. But for the high bandwidth consumption, it's a different model. And I think that the point there is that people on the low end don't really pay for the connectivity. That's right, but it's the applications. So things like tracking, monitoring, security. And the biggest thing that we're finding, we did a massive project on this in the Middle East, in Qatar actually, and what we concluded after 6 months of study was that if you understand and look after and control the data, that's where you can start to monetize and actually think about the whole industry from a data perspective. I think you mentioned that as well. And I think that we've got to then think about where's it all going, and then the concept of, data centers, for example. There's a whole new world of connectivity around that, edge computing, all of that sort of stuff, which goes with all of that. So there's kind of, in summary, what I'm getting at is that if we think of the users or demand and break it down, and we apply what they need to make it successful at enterprise level with the things I mentioned, I think then we can start to monetize. And then finally, it's about connecting the connectivity piece with the platform, with the applications that give you a full stack to be able to achieve a monetizable service.
Okay, thank you. Noor?
I believe the most important thing is the collaboration, right? When we're talking about, there's so many elements, right, in the industry that need to be collaborate, but how can we make it more seamless, right? So that like every single providers, perhaps they can focus on their own strength, right, and we leverage with each other. Right? I believe only the big players, right, maybe like Deutsche Telekom, right, can cover the entire landscape, right. But how about the other like smaller carriers, right? Even a company like us from the Southeast Asia region, how can we tap into that particular market? Right, so that is another question mark, I think, right, for that we need to bring up, right, in the industry.
All right. Nigel, I asked the question earlier to Aaron, but he didn't want to answer my question, of course. But no, just kidding. Just waking you up.
Yeah, I gave you a strategy.
I know. That's a good thing. Anyway, no, on the business strategy, but what I actually want to do is if we are applying or implementing actually new business strategies or renewed or whatever, because nothing is so new anymore, I want to tip actually a bit on the business automation, in the end-to-end ecosystem, on the business automation and on the security, because that's what Arun mentioned in his opening statement as well. Those are very important things, and how can we, with that, improve the customer experience? Mouthful. You have half an hour.
I mean, my first response would be just half an hour. Yeah. That's the challenge, because you come back to automation and say, where do we automate? Do we automate to make ourselves efficient within the business? Or do we automate to have, really picking up on Noor's point, collaboration? And just thinking about some of those areas and some of the metrics that come out. We did some go-to-market analysis in the UK about the altnets, and identified the 78 million homes that are being passed by the altnets. Sorry, thank you. 78 million homes that are being passed by the altnets. We've only got 28 million homes. So that therefore means that there's going to be some really poor business strategies out there. So that comes back to the collaboration. But the next thing then is, how do these altnets trade? How do they, rather than look at the local area of Eastbourne or Hastings or Southwest Birmingham, how do they trade outside? And that then means, do they have a wholesale strategy, or are they purely looking at domestic? And if they're trading, what do they use? Is it something that they build internally? So every single supplier has a portal? Or do they actually look at going to really what the World Bank of Telecom was saying, come here and look at all your routes? So very much, I think, automation, it's what are the drivers? It's collaboration, and I think probably Aaron's hit the really important point is, it's data-driven. So it's data that our customers want, but it's also data for what we have within the business. So one's got to go back and look at what are the real drivers. From looking at how we provide service globally, do we do it through common platforms? Do we look at how we share the infrastructure? And do we look at the efficient play within the business? So I think those are the drives we've got to look at.
And how much time are we going to lose with that?
I've been talking about this
Sorry
for
for the
30 years.
curveball, huh? Sorry for the curveball, but
No, I mean, we're going to spend, an absolute ton of time, because what happens is, let's take a global carrier. We've got a new product coming out, so why don't we put in place an overarching billing system, an umbrella platform, and we'll start with a new product. And by the time that's launched, we then end up with M&A, the company's been acquired, or they've taken on a new product, or we've had a change in strategy. And rather than having an overarching umbrella system, we have another one that we've now got to maintain. So it's a perpetual system, and until we get to the point where we realize that we have to improve the efficiency of our architectures, we're going to spend forever doing it.
do you see that? Is he right? Is that what you see within, let's say, your organization?
I think he's right. And for me, there's one example related to the way how we try to monetize network APIs. And for me, the prime or the prime example is the Amadeus booking system. Don't know whether you know it. Was founded like 1987 or so by 4 operators. And the idea was, hey, we have all our flight routes, and we need to find a way how to bring our flight routes to customers, like emerging customers, like the Kayaks, Expedias, and so on of this world. And this was way before that time. How I look at this is we all have as operators our inventory, but the requirement on the other side is, hey, I don't need the DT inventory only. I want, also the Vodafone edge sites in the UK. And I want to look at a map. I want to have 25 edge sites all over Europe. And if we had some sort of Amadeus system, we would plug in our edge sites and also other inventory that we have on the bottom to a middleware layer, more or less, which could be the Amadeus system. And we plug in the sales channels on top of that. So in our case, the Googles, the AWSs, the Twilios, Vonages of this world. But this requires us to have a common layer in between this sort of Amadeus layer. We have discussions about that, but we're nowhere there yet. There are discussions about doing a joint venture and all sorts of things, yeah. And this is what you don't hear at MWC, for example. You're hearing it here now, by the way. But this is discussions that are taking place, and it's required. But again, it's heavy. There are so many different interests here that my fear is that eventually somebody will come and overtake us left or right. Just do what we talk about.
Again, when the
exactly
yeah.
Yeah.
The operators were like, oh, what's that? What?
What has happened?
Anyway, cool. Aaron, quick one, because we need to watch the time, and this guy is having a moderation session after me, so he's looking at me like, make sure you're on time. And we will. I want to come back on security, because quite some people, I mean, whatever we think of, whatever models we implement, whatever, whatever beautiful things we implement, some people, and quite some people, are afraid what is happening with my personal data. Yep. So on the security side, again, I think it's so difficult to really get it right on the security and on the things. Am I in the blind here, or does anybody have a real good answer on this one?
So I think the problem's getting worse, a lot worse. This morning, I woke up and, I was, my son, believe it or not, he's implementing the AI and all of this for EY. He's a competitor of mine now, believe it or not. He followed my footsteps. And I was saying, where are you going, Dad? I said, I'm going to, do this talk on what? Messaging and wholesale. So he's telling me, the biggest issue they're facing now is this, and he also faces that he's talking to bots, doesn't know if it's a human being or not. So that's that. And then we got messages. My wife, the same day, this morning, said, I've just got a message about someone's logged onto my Tesco thing from a Apple Mac. We haven't got that, so they're trying to steal her passwords. My daughter went onto Pinterest and got blocked because, again, somebody's using the account. The point I'm making is that it's just, in our household, it's crazy the amount of sort of fraud that is going on, and spamming as well. And the wholesale industry needs to think about the policies, its strategy. Now, sadly, and when I do write my book eventually on this, it will come up. Our industry doesn't care as much as it should. So my clients, I'm doing a lot more work in policy on this, and it does not care enough about what we're doing to our society, I believe, and that's why I'm so big on data. So that's kind of, I think it's worth. And there's I don't know if it's been mentioned, but in terms of some of the new AI features that are available to stop this. But quantum key distribution, I don't know if that's something which has been mentioned, which I think is an interesting one to watch. I think that one probably could have a big impact on making sure that no one's listening in to our conversations.
Exactly, that's a good thing. Alrighty. Discussed a couple of topics very briefly, shortly, and whatever. But again, guys, sorry for that. We are limited time, and if you want to talk more about this subject and topic, then all the gentlemen are here still the whole day to have any of your questions. I want to come to a closing round, and more like, and Federico, if we may start with you, scoping sort of a little bit the future. What's out there? What should we look out for? What should we be afraid of? I don't know. What's out there? What's there to come from your point of view?
Watch large operators. They might still be faster than you think in some areas.
Okay, that's good. Nigel, any closing statement? What?
I just think security depends who you are in the organization, and where you perceive the risk and where you understand it.
Okay. Now I go to this was the glass half empty. Now I go to the glass half full, the positive side. What are the beautiful things and the opportunities which you see for the future?
Yeah, and I think we are looking forward into more collaboration with all the industry players. Perhaps we can come up with standard. All right, we were talking about, like just now, Federico was talking about this medial thing, right? It's more like standard, right? We need something standard that we can follow, right? So that we can talk, integrate with each other seamlessly. Right? So I believe, collaboration is what we need right now.
Okay, so let me pick up on that. So wholesale dystopia or utopia, right? So I've said the negative part, now the positive part.
Positive,
what
please.
could happen, and I would like to see happen, and let's see, is the convergence and the collaboration. So wouldn't it be lovely if I could take a device and it seamlessly transitions from a mountain on satellite down to terrestrial on the sea into my home using cellular handoffs, and then go onto Wi-Fi all seamlessly. Now, we've got one of our, Adriana knows this, we've got a client who's a crazy client of ours who's basically, we've invented something that does some handovers, and it's going to come out, but it's hard work and it needs a lot of collaboration. So my sort of closing comment is, let's try to collaborate to create a seamless user experience on the communication front.
All right. And with those words, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Noor, Arun, Nigel, and Federico for joining us this morning. I know it's the most difficult panel session the day after at 10 o'clock. Why did you put me on that one this morning, though? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it at least, and I wish you a fantastic day. It's over for me, but Arun will take over in 20 minutes, and we'll talk about, I think it's the future of messaging and technical things and whatever. Later on, we also have Elaine with Women in Tech. So I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of your GCCM 2024 here in London. So thank you.
Thank you.